Okay.
All right. Thank you, Barb and Melissa. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to January 11th, 2021 School Board meeting and open session workshop. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Looks like we have a few resolutions here that we will have to vote on. And then we will end with the Wisconsin Association of School Board resolutions that we discussed. I hope you got all your questions answered so that we can vote on them tonight. Okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kelly, who has a few words.
Right. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning. Good evening. Kelly Ruppel, your Chief Financial Officer here. And joining me tonight is Natalie Rue, our Comptroller. We get to share some very good news with you at the beginning of this new year. Today, we put out to bid a couple different financing packages. The first being $106 million referendum facilities bond tied to the November 2020 results and related kind of some refinancing from some old debt. And we have very good news on the results of that borrowing. The first piece of good news to share with you tonight is that we did receive a AA+ credit rating for S&P again this year going into the market. It's incredibly important to understand because it is this rating, which only a few school districts in the entire state of Wisconsin hold such a high credit rating, that gave us the results I'm about to share with you tonight. So that credit report is attached to your materials for this evening. I encourage you to read them. It's very complimentary of this board and of this district and the important budgeting process that we go through, the items that you look at, the items that you vet, and the decisions that you make, including the forecasting moving forward for the future. So our budgeting process, kind of as supported by the overall market, continues to work well for us and giving us that AA+ rating, one of the highest you can possibly get in this state. So great news there, which led to the very good news in front of you today. So I'll go through each item in a little bit more detail, but overall, the package in front of you tonight provides both short-term and long-term savings for the district and for our local taxpayers. The package in whole over the next 4 years will save the district over $1.25 million in the short term in the next 3 to 4 years. In addition, in the long term, over the next 20 years, the results that we got this morning will save our local taxpayers approximately $20 million. All right. So back in July, when we approved the facilities resolution, we went assuming we would get interest rate costs about 3%. That had been what we were seeing in the market as a district and other districts were receiving. But due to the low interest rates and due to that great credit rating that we received, we not only received less than that 3%, it was approximately half. So the first big item in the resolution you'll be voting on tonight is our lowest bidder with JP Morgan bidding on what is a 1.53% interest rate, about half of what we originally projected and told our taxpayers we thought this would cost them. Again, saving approximately $20 million over the next 20 years. So fantastic news. I don't know that we could have done much better in the market this morning. Kind of give yourself a round of applause and many thanks to Natalie in particular, who really bird dogged this entire process all through winter break, making sure we were ready for you tonight. So really good news, and certainly recommend approving the resolution in front of you tonight on this one. On the next two, a little smaller in nature than borrowing $106 million. Actually, before I do that, I should just remind the board that the $317 million approved in the November 2020 ballot will go to bond in 3 phases. So this is just part number 1, the first $106 million. Next year, at about this time of year, we'll go for the next set, which would be another $106 million. And then 2 years from now, we'll do the last part of the facilities referendum at 105 million. So you'll be seeing this as part of our process over the next 2 years, going back to market. We have not changed our estimates for interest rates for 2023 or 2022 or 2023. But we'll obviously continue to watch the market and hope that we'll get better interest rates than we had estimated there too. So great news on this first package in front of you for the resolution tonight. It gives us the ability to get the borrowing done and to really start our facilities referendum projects. The next 2 items are smaller in nature, but certainly not less important. The second item is our 2012 bond refinancing. So back in 2012, we took out some debt, which is non-referendum debt, which means it's under the revenue limit. So any savings we get here is saving that's directly available to us through the budgeting process by freeing up revenue limit authority. So here, many thanks to PMA and Natalie as well. We looked back at that debt, which had an interest rate of 2.5% to 3%, and thought we can do better than that. So we went to the market to refinance that this morning. Not that dissimilar as you would refinance a house about this period of time. You guys, we got a rate of 0.54 all-inclusive interest rate costs this morning, 0.54. A tremendous rate, which will save us under that revenue limit $180,000 per year over the next 3 years. That'll accumulate to savings in the short term, of which will be available through the budgeting process. So another great news, that winner was Northland Securities, Inc. And again, we recommend you approve this resolution tonight, providing that overall savings to the district and our taxpayers. And then last, but certainly not least, is a resolution for you tonight, which is called the defeasance. The idea here is that we have ongoing debt from the 2015 school facilities package that we did. And that debt is at higher interest rates than that of which we thought we could receive in the market today. So what we're doing is recommending that we pay about $12 million down on that old debt because of the lower interest rates that we now have available using referendum authority from this current referendum. So by doing this particular resolution, you will save the district and taxpayers $400,000 over the next 4 years, bringing down the total costs of the 2015 facilities referendum package. So all in, approximate savings in front of you tonight related to these resolutions of about $1.25 million in the short term and over $20 million approximately in the next 20 years. So a lot of really great news. Natalie and I are here for questions should you have any, but we know you have another item on the agenda tonight as well. Nikki?
Just wanted to thank you guys for your hard work and look forward to working with the budget this year and helping our staff as much as possible and helping our school with hygiene and making sure our sinks and faucets and everything are up to code. So that way our hygiene, when we do go back, will be top of the line.
Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate that.
Chris?
I want to echo the thanks to Kelly and your team. Refinancing and getting that bond rating are a lot of work. So thank you so much for putting in the time to help us have an easier time managing our budget over the long term. I just have a procedural question. I was looking through the resolutions that we're voting on, and I'm a little bit confused because I didn't actually see the funders in the resolutions. I'm wondering where in this vote the actual awardees come in.
Yeah, so depending on when you looked at the materials, Chris, the materials were all updated at about 3 p.m. today. And so all the updated resolutions are attached. Our bond counsels, Corals and Brady, they provide those materials, but of course they can't finish and finalizing them until after all the sale is finished. So all the materials were updated for the vote that you're about to take.
Yeah, I looked at them just a few minutes ago and maybe I'm just missing something because there's a lot in there, but it looked like the same resolutions as I looked at yesterday. It's not? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not. The whole, you'll see the piece of paper which mirrors what you see in the PowerPoint that's attached, that provides the entire bidder list along with the lowest bidder as attachments at the end of those resolutions. And Natalie and I both checked that out prior to this meeting to make sure Barb had gotten all the right stuff in the right spots. Natalie, you can double check it, triple check it now while we're talking.
It's all up to date, because at first it looks exactly the same. And then as you start going through it, you see the language has been updated for all the latest, greatest, and who's, even the interest rates, who the lowest bidders were, what the other bids were. The debt payment schedules are included in there now. It was, I actually almost cried. I was so excited.
Yeah, we've been in that a lot today. It is possible, Krista, you didn't refresh maybe. And had it open.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Ananda?
Well, first, congratulations. I can hear in the emotions on your voice, so thank you so much. We definitely could use some really good news right now as we start our year. A couple of questions. One is, what is the communication around that it's gonna look like? And then two, like, what is the impact on the budget? Like, when you tell the story about this amazing thing, like, what is the story around that savings?
Yeah, so we'll get the website updated literally tomorrow with all the new information, including the new payment schedule. So it's super easy for everybody to find. As far as the way it looks in the budgeting process, the referendum debt is really held in its own fund. So when it is handed over to taxpayers through the tax bill at the end of next budget season, it will be an ask lower than which we otherwise would have predicted. And that will be first really seen in the January 2022 tax bills. In the shorter term, about $180,000 will free up for our revenue limit authority for this current budget cycle, of which will go into the overall, repurposing conversation of how we use funds for greater and better use. But certainly there's greater and better use than paying interest.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kelly and Natalie and your team.
All right. Thank you. Oh, Savion.
Vivian?
Yep. Yeah. Thank you so much for being vigilant and on top of this. I guess the only question I have is, will there be any scenarios in the future in which we have to renegotiate our interest rate with this, or is this pretty much set?
Nope.
Decades?
Yep. This is pretty much set. Unless in some foreseeable future interest rates would fall even further and we would want to consider something, like what we're doing with the 2012. But no, at this point, this is good news. It's not going to change in any opposite direction for us. And as I mentioned, the estimates for the 2022 borrowing remain at 3.5%, which is where we were in July, until we know more and get closer to January, next January, and can anticipate those interest rates. We'll leave those estimates at 3.5%.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Ali?
Kelly and Natalie, thank you so much for your work. And I think that this, kind of strengthens the story we've been telling long-term for a while. And so it's great to kind of deliver and bring consistency to a series of anticipated narratives and to do better than we thought we would do. I think, I think looking at kind of how things are working out right now, is there any concern that the rate at which we're borrowing and the rate at which we'll be able to achieve projects is not going to kind of exist in its original format given the pandemic? So yeah, what does it mean in terms of how we're going to be investing in facilities moving forward?
Yeah, so as it relates to the overall facilities timeline, we are on track with what we thought, where we thought we would be at this moment in time, with the overall kind of architectural designs and the work we need to be doing right now. You guys will all get an update on that in the February operation work group, more details on that. As far as the overall schematics attached to the facilities referendum project, certainly both Findorf and our architects and all of our building services team have their eye on the ball as it relates to what these buildings need to look like in a post-COVID-19 environment, and is being built into those design schematics kind of literally as we speak, and we continue through the feedback process from our schools and our staff over this month and next month.
Thank you so much for speaking to that, Kelly.
Yeah.
I want to say something real quick. I do want to admit here that I was very, very hesitant with this. Kelly asked me to please have an open mind and to listen to the proposal that was presented to us. So PMA, our service providers on this deal, and our advisors on the referenda were the ones who actually brought this to us and said, here is something for you to consider. We rolled it around in our brains for about a week, crunched a lot of numbers, but Kelly actually kind of sat Ross and I down and said, have an open mind, listen to what they have to say. So I do want to thank Kelly and PMA for bringing this to us, because we just saved a lot of money for the district, even just the refinancing and the defeasance, because I originally was like, no, we're not doing it. And so I just want to point out that there was a lot of moving people in this.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of work over a holiday season. So all thanks to the team on all ends of our team for getting this done. But it's the right thing to do for our taxpayers, and it's the right thing to do for our kids. So with that, thank you very much. We'll hand it back over to you, Gloria.
Thank you so much, Kelly and Natalie and the team. This is amazing. And as you said, Kelly, amazing progress for our community, and definitely, our taxpayers. Being responsible of our taxpayers' money is so important, and this is part of it. So if no other questions, comments, we will move through with these resolutions. First resolution is I move that the Board of Education approve a resolution awarding the sale of 106 million general obligation school building and facility improvement bonds, Series 2021A. Can I get a second?
Second.
Ali, second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, aye. Show of hands. So I have
Aye.
everybody.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Second resolution is I move that the Board of Education approve a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of 11,925,000 taxable general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2021B.
Second.
And on the second, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, aye. Show of hands.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Next item is I move that the Board of Education approve a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds, the establishment of an escrow account with respect to, and the defeasance of certain of the general obligation promissory notes dated August 10th, 2015.
Second.
Savion, second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. And then next on the agenda is the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, WASB resolution. As you recall, this was an item of discussion at our last meeting, I think right before the holidays, where we had many questions in regards to some of the resolutions. So we did not move forward in voting on these resolutions due to the questions that board members had. And I had requested that everybody get their questions in and answered before this meeting so that we can move forward on a vote. And as you recall, these are resolutions from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. And you're giving permission for me. Ali is going to be attending the school board meeting as well. And so you're giving us authorization to vote a certain way on these resolutions. Any questions? Nikki, and then Ananda.
Are we going to separate the special ed one out, or are we taking them individually, or are we taking them as a group?
I thought we would take them as a group. Unless you want some separations, then let me know what you want separated.
I'd like the special ed one separated out.
Okay, which number is that?
I think it's 3, don't quote me though. It's the one on special education and maintenance of effort.
Okay, let me check here.
It's 21-05.
Thank you. I couldn't read my writing. It looked like a 3, it was a 5.
Any other separations? All right, and let's move with Ananda. Did you have something, comment?
I just wanted to say, I know that this language may change once you get to the floor, and you may get some amendments. Before I knew we could separate, I was in my head thinking that we would I would authorize you all to make the best decisions for the district, given whatever final language they decided to have. I feel like the language is still ambiguous to me, and it's not clear, but I trust both of you to vote on the best interest for the district. So I don't feel the need to separate or to vote against. I wanted to give you all the full authorization, given that, if something happened on the floor and other amendments come in, or if the language changes, that you all will make those decisions as you, given, with the districts in mind.
And what number were you specifically looking at a number, or just in general?
I think in general, there were, from our last conversations, I feel like the language is still not clear to me what they actually meant by what they were trying to say.
Okay.
So I'm assuming we're not the only ones with questions around this. So it might change, the language might change on the floor. So I don't want to not authorize you all to do something that may end up being such a great thing, but just to say, and I think this is in regards to any of those resolutions, once it gets to the floor, things may change.
Yeah, I think that, thank you, Ananda, for that trust and confidence in us. I think the one that came up quite a bit was the comprehensive school safety legislation. Obviously, this does not, voting on this will not direct us to go any certain way. But I think that once the conversation does happen on the floor in regards to specifically SROs, because that was brought up before, we'll see where it goes, and we can easily vote, not vote in support or not support of that. So let's go with Chris and then Savion.
Thanks, Gloria. So my other separations, in addition to 21-05, are 21-01, which is the sales tax resolution, and 21-09, which is the school safety resolution. And I do think it's important for us to at least have a discussion about these before you go, just so that we've given you some guidance. I think that takes a little bit of the burden off of you, actually, for us to give you some guidance before you have to vote.
Okay, thank you. Savion?
Yeah, I just want to echo Chris's comments and, just say in general, I'm in a lot of ways unimpressed by a lot of these resolutions, especially around 2109. So if our delegate wants to try and leave our imprint on some of these, otherwise I do have a lot of reservations around 21-09 and 21-05.
Okay. Nikki?
My issue on 2105 is I don't want to even come close to opening the door on maintenance of effort and finances, because once the door is open, ever, it can be open wider and wider, and then we're introducing finance as a reason on whether or not someone can attend. And I understand it has nothing to do with trust of you guys. It has trust in WASB and trust in our legislatures, neither of which I do trust. You guys are not who I don't. That's the reason why I'm pushing it the way I am, because it's not my team I don't trust. It's my legislators I don't trust.
Got it. Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate that. Any other comments? Ali?
Yeah, so I want to elevate our student senate representative, Julia, who made some really, I think, important remarks about both of the two that Chris Carusi just pulled, which were that we're talking about a retro kind of a regressive tax in terms of sales tax, and also that we want to be consistent with what we've said. And I think, speaking to Nikki's point, if we look at the approach this body has taken in recent votes to maintaining the integrity of services for disabled students, in prioritizing equity, in acknowledging our students who are most at risk and marginalized, I think that that's the voice that these votes need to contain. And I think we as a body have made some unanimous decisions that impact how we should vote and navigate that conversation. And I want to emphasize that I was deeply impressed by Julia's remarks around these resolutions at our last meeting, particularly her remarks in terms of consistency around our stance on SROs as a district and as a board, but also her remarks around the nature of the sales tax.
Okay, any others? All right, just a second. I'm just writing these down here.
Gloria, I have a procedural question.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
the motion we're about to read says that we approve you to support all of the resolutions. So I'm wondering if we need to separate out the 3 of contention, vote for you to support the rest, and then give you guidance on the other 3, because I don't feel comfortable saying that we vote to support you or vote for you to support those 3.
That's what we're doing.
Even if we
We are
Okay, good.
separating these 3 and we're voting on the others.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, I move that the Board of Education direct Board Representative Gloria Reyes and I'm going to add Ali Muldrow to vote in support of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards 2021 resolutions, items 21-02, 21-03, 21-04, 21-06, 21-07, 21-08, 21-09, and 21-10 at the January 2021 State Education Convention Delegate Assembly meeting. Can I get a second?
Second, Nikki.
Any further discussion? Chris?
I would like to amend that to remove 21-09.
Oh, I'm sorry, you did say 09.
Okay. Thanks.
Amend -09. Okay, any other? Okay, all those in favor, aye?
I
Okay.
want to second Chris's
Oh,
amendment.
Yeah, second amendment.
And then yes, sorry.
Okay, all those in favor, aye? Barb, are you following them? Am I going too fast?
It's Melissa here. You're good.
Okay, okay. All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. And that was the, okay, now we got to do the amendment.
I thought we did the amendment. That was the amendment.
Okay. So do I have to read? Okay, I move that the Board of Education direct Board Representative Gloria Reyes to vote in support of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards 2021 resolutions, items 2102, 2103, 2104, 2106, 2107, 2108 and 2110.
Second, Nikki Vandermeer.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, now we will go through individually. I move that the Board of Education direct Board Representative Gloria Reyes to vote and Ali Muldrow in support of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards 2021 resolutions, items 21.05. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
And this
Okay,
is
all
for in
those-
support, right?
Right. All those in favor, aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay, it looks like we got everybody except Savion. Right, Savion? Oh. Okay, all right. Okay, motion fails. Okay, next one is I move that the Board of Education direct Board Representative Gloria Reyes to vote in support and Ali Muldrow in support of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards 2021 resolutions, items 2101. Any further discussion?
I'll second that. And I just wanted to expand upon my rationale for pulling this one. In addition to the fact that sales tax is regressive, this resolution does not address the major problems in the school funding formula. It just provides a Band-Aid. High property tax or high property value, high poverty districts fare very, very badly under the current school funding formula. And this does not fix that. This just shifts some of the property tax burden into sales tax burden. I personally think that we need to be looking at supporting some of the recommendations that came out of the Blue Ribbon Commission on school funding and not shifting to a more regressive tax than our currently regressive taxation situation where we're depending on property taxes. On top of that, if you think about this year, if this had been in place, we actually could have been in trouble because especially if you think about tourism, property tax revenue or sales tax revenues are down, whereas a lot of property value is held or even increased in some places with like vacation homes. So I see this as a losing proposition on many fronts, and I don't think we should support it. It's not good for MMSD, and I don't think it's good for Wisconsin.
Okay. Any others? Okay, all those in favor, aye. Okay, all those opposed? Show of hands, okay. Motion fails. Next is 2109. I move that the Board of Education direct Board Representative Gloria Reyes and Ali Muldrow to vote in support of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards 2021 resolution for item 21.09 at the January 2021 State Education Convention Delegate Assembly meeting. Can I get a second?
Second, Nikki Vandermeer.
Nikki, second. And then I just want to point out that I'm going to vote in support of this resolution. As many of you know, my priority is safety in our schools. We just got done working on our safety and security planning with our community organizations. I see this resolution as a much broader, a broader support of safety and security in our schools. It's not just about SROs, it is about working with our community organizations in our community to ensure safety in our schools. And so I don't want to not support a safety and security resolution for our Wisconsin school boards because I think it's very important to provide security improvements to our infrastructure, coordinating with our community agencies, training for staff and students about threats to safety, restorative practices, de-escalation techniques, and anti-bullying, all very important, mental health services, equipping school crisis teams to react to threats. So I don't want to, I think that those are all very important. This does not dictate whether we take out SROs within our own schools. Chris and then Savion.
So I dug into this one a little bit, and it's not what it appears to be on the surface. So this resolution actually is a rewording of an existing WASB resolution that was already passed several years ago. And the existing language that is on the books and approved includes the language that we're opposed to, which is SROs. So the SRO language is already passed and already on the books. What this resolution does is it adds language about restorative practices to the existing resolution. So if we support this resolution, we're actually asking them to, I think, make it a little bit more progressive, which means adding options other than SROs to the existing resolution. And if we oppose it, we're saying keep the resolution the way it is, which includes SROs. So this is not as cut and dry as it appears to be on the surface. On one hand, I do agree with adding language to the existing resolution that makes it a little bit more progressive. But Gloria, I would also like to encourage you to, as long as the resolution's open and up for amendment, to like maybe amend it to just take out the example of SROs and leave the rest and ensure that the language around restorative practices stays. Because I think it's really important to add that to an existing WASB resolution that right now is very much focused on SROs.
Sabian?
Yeah, and I'll add this, as we've talked about extensively in the ad hoc committee, to get districts to fully commit to restorative justice and restorative practice and eventually get to transformative justice, the presence of an SRO in a school is antithetical to that. So in a lot of ways, I find this resolution contradictory. And to getting a district to fully commit to restorative justice, they've got to decommit from reactionary and harmful policies like SROs. So that's why I still stand unopposed.
Okay, all those in favor? Chris,
Laura,
did you
can
have?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I also read the resolution like you did, where it was a menu of options for districts, and really appreciate Chris digging into this to take a look that it is actually adding the restorative practices part of this. And I think it's really important. So I am going to vote in favor of this.
Great, Ali?
Yeah, I think if we have recognized a practice as a practice that has promoted disproportionate outcomes for students of color, that has been misused and mishandled within our own district, as something we are moving away from, right? I think of this as we look through our history, right? We've moved away from certain practices in terms of how we treat certain populations of young people. And if we're moving away from those practices, I think we have to have a critical analysis of when those practices are being bought into on a greater scale. So I guess I agree with Chris Carusi in saying that there's the potential to amend, and I think there's the potential to discuss this with WASB and to be consistent with the voice of this board in terms of that specific portion of the resolution. I do appreciate that there's an expansive relationship to what school safety is, but I also think that we have led our community and our state in terms of the conversation around SROs and school-based policing and disproportionality of arrests of children. And we have a responsibility to continue to have that conversation, as challenging as it is. So thank you, Gloria, for doing that work. And I wanted to inform the way that I'm voting.
Great, thank you. All those in favor, aye. Okay, all those opposed? Okay, motion fails 4-3. All right, so that is the end of the agenda. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Or I move to adjourn.
Second.
So moved.
Second? Okay, we will see you at the next meeting, Instruction Work Group.
Just a reminder for some of you coming back, we do have a number of guests at the next meeting, not just MMSD, but other guests. So you'll see them in the meeting.
Great, thank you, Melissa.
Hey, are we starting right away, Melissa, at 8:40, like right now? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.